Hey, I'm here with sgares right after the ESWC 2015 Montreal Finals. Once again, Cloud9 major, second final in a row. Last one was at ESL versus Fnatic. Another pretty heartbreaking loss. Best of 5 series where you actually took them on their best map and couldn't close out a couple of very, very close calls. We've seen something similar today. It was obviously versus Na'Vi. Na'Vi, though, are extremely strong as of late. Should, I feel like, pose as much of a threat as Fnatic, but the difference, I guess, today is that you've never played against Na'Vi. I guess take us through a couple of maps, or...
Yeah, so it started off on Inferno, and we knew that would be like a really hard map for us to play against Na'Vi just because they're a super strong team. We know they have like a really strong default, but we didn't even get to really see that because they kind of just played super aggressive CT side. We actually got a lot of picks, to be honest, when we were running our default early. Had a lot of favorable like 5-on-4s or even 4-on-3s. And then when we would go to like hit a site or execute, they would double or triple kill us.
Yeah.
We just couldn't get anything going on T side. The one round, we were probably going to break their money. I think we got like triple killed entering a bomb site after it was like 4v3.
How'd you feel about Inferno going into it?
Honestly, I was a little bit probably too optimistic about it because I mean we watched a couple of their matches on Inferno, didn't really get to watch any of the other games, just because I mean we haven't really felt too well throughout the trip.
Yeah. Nothing sick.
Yeah, nothing.
You just had
Jordan's
a root
sick.
canal.
I'm sick. I need to get a root canal in Spain, which will be interesting to say the least. I've been having like tremendous tooth pains. Been on like painkillers every time I played this trip, which is just awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, but you knew you had to play Inferno, whether you're optimistic or not. It wasn't one of the maps you were necessarily looking forward to.
Yeah.
You went into Dust 2, and your CT side, you only got 4 rounds, I think. You got the pistol. You brought it back to 11-11. One thing I found that was interesting was Na'Vi, for a couple of rounds in a row, were splitting 2-3 out the gate. They were delaying a little bit, but then sending 2 out long, 3 up cat, and you had Skadoodle playing Markelov and Shroud anchoring long. Was the reason that you played that 2-1-2 and over and over again because you had Shroud and Skadoodle in those spots?
Yeah, I mean we have a lot of faith in Scott and Shroud to hold the A bomb site, and going into that match, I know Navi's a really strong like strategic team where they like to run defaults, so my mindset was after the first map is we have to show them that we can compete with them, and the only way to do that on CT side is to play really aggressive. So we're doing a lot of upper B pushes. We're playing really aggressive in mid. Every time it was an eco round, I had like people pushing low or pushing up mid. Basically like every time I knew that Guardian couldn't op, we were playing really aggressive to basically slow down their game, because I knew after that first map they were going to try to show us no respect.
Is there any reason you didn't do cat control if you knew that was a place that people would go?
They're just a really strong default team, a lot like NIP, where playing cat might not be the best idea because, I mean, Guardian controls the middle quite well, and they have pretty good flashes to clear those angles. So I knew like upper B pushes would be favorable because we'd always catch one guy there, and then sending guys in lower would be pretty favorable too. So we did that a lot.
How do you lose a 1v5 versus C's?
Did we lose a 1v5? Oh my god.
C's killed 3 going up cat, and then a 1v2 in the B site.
Yeah. Oh, that was brutal. I remember that. Yeah, I don't know. Supposedly Scott's shot like went right through him when he came through the window.
Yeah, it was like how do you miss a shot in the window? It's
not
like Scott at all.
We all supposedly were just like, yeah, that went right through him. That's not cool. But yeah, I guess we came back. That would have sucked if we ended up losing like 16-14 and that round came back to haunt us, but I guess it didn't really matter in the long run.
That was a map to your name, and all that matters is the 1 and the 0.
Yeah.
Just kind of sad about the loss because this next map, overpass, is obviously extremely close. Up 7-0, I think 7-1, Na'Vi force buy, and then one thing I saw was that you went for the long B hit, all 5 of you, and then you canceled, but you didn't have anyone spotting mid. Was that intentional that you canceled, or did you just think that it was going to be a bad idea?
No. So what actually happened that round was, so we had been doing like the sewer creeps where we'd like creep up, and I would like fake a courtyard control during the creep up. But that round, it was right after their pause, and I thought what they would do to combat like stuff we've been doing is they would still keep like 2A, but they would play like pretty heavy towards long, and maybe even send an op there. So I actually called for us to rush sewer, which is that like the long B area, with like a lot of flashes, and I kept saying like rush long B, rush sewer, and during their pause, and we were just literally just gonna flash rush, and hopefully we'd catch a guy like in the middle, and then we'd play super aggressive towards graffiti, which is like that back wall. But Freakazoid thought I said long A, and he headed towards long A out of spawn. And basically, like, I had Scott and Jordan's thing back for flashes, and I was going to go courtyard and just rush up to the sandbags. But when Ryan didn't go, that only left Shroud to entry, and I called I said cancel the strat. And,
well, I guess before we start talking about the rest of the map, that's pretty unfortunate, but Freak was brought on as an entry fragger, right?
Yeah.
And then Shroud started entering, right?
No, Ryan's still entries. It's just that they're like a little, I kind of keep them together. I try to always make sure that Shroud knows where the guy is, because his success rate when he knows where someone is extremely high. His spray's like always on point, and it's like peaking is just phenomenal. So I always try to have Ryan entering, but if Shroud's ever feeling something, or if like I can see he's on his game, I'll tell him to just like walk somewhere and look for kills.
Okay,
so
I see. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
Well, we saw a lot of that Shroud entering.
Yeah.
On train and a few maps at ESL, and I didn't see that here, so I was curious about that. Yeah, so to continue with overpass, you got second pistol, you got egoed.
Mm-hmm.
You had a round where it was 5v3, Shroud got 2 kills, and you almost won that 1v2. You played it right. It just got a nice shot.
Yeah.
Should it have come that close?
No, I mean, in 5v3s, we should always be setting ourselves up to like at least get a trade kill. I know we're saving that round, so it's really hard, and I could tell when I rotated sandbag that they must have planted in a smoke, and it was like 2v3 in our favor still when they planted, but I could tell like when I came sandbag there was like 2 smokes on the ground, and they probably planted in the smoke and like looped around to the pit, and they played it pretty well based on what I saw as when I rotated into the site. I can't really comment on our angles we took because I was the only guy at A during that whole hit.
You think you should have pushed for information at the other site?
I mean,
you should be afraid of the fact that Navi might be holding that, waiting.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I was up in the bathrooms, and I wasn't asking for a rotate or anything. I was staying stack B, so we had 4B still. I think we actually had 3B, 1 in blue, which was Jordan, and he quick flanked. I don't really know the angles we took. Maybe we should have had a guy completely hiding, like baiting that barrel or something, to for sure get a kill.
Okay, so I guess we were just talking about that one eco and CT side where you had almost won it. I was just going to say that, without armor, a 3v5 is pretty much just as likely for either team to win.
Yeah.
Right? They got nades and everything. Was there anything, what would you do differently on that map if it was kind of an overlying theme? You can't put it to any one mistake on one round. Would you change anything about your CT side, considering you only got 4 rounds?
Definitely would not have allowed them to execute on A on the second round. Probably played a little bit more aggressive for info earlier, trying to get a kill or 2. Maybe go like 1 for 1 or 2 for 2 at worst. And then they wouldn't have been able to do like a massive execute like they did, where they're just like a wall of smoke and they plant the wall.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I keep coughing.
Yeah, we'll keep
yeah, I guess that would probably be the one thing I would change, is that anti-eco, and then the last round, obviously. Other than that, I think they won a few unfortunate rounds based on what I heard from Shroud at B. Like, one round played me like walk through a smoke and
okay.
Yeah.
And that happens. I guess the one last thing before we let you go is going back to the roster changes between old Cloud9 and new Cloud9.
Yeah.
Semphis being on the team and acting as kind of a secondary caller, I feel like you were regarded as more of a passive caller in that you had the right idea a lot of the times, but sometimes there would be a stronger voice maybe that could change things, even if you respected his opinion, you respected yours, but sometimes you might get away with it more often than not, and that would make for a mixed strategy and overall theme of winning a game of 16 rounds, right? Leaving you as the only person that really has that voice as a caller, has that allowed you to become more confident in taking control of the team? So it seems like you're really taking charge more than in a way you could have in the past.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, everyone's really willing to listen, and it also helps a lot as an in-game leader when you have an entry fragger like Ryan Freakazoid, just someone that's always willing to listen to anything I say. Like I could literally tell him to like run out mid on Dust 2 and like fight the guy CT Swamp with no smokes, no flashes, and he would do it. So when you have like a fearless player like that you can control, and where we never had that before, it just generally opens up the game a lot for all the other people that can fall into roles that suit them better. Like Shroud was never meant to be that player. Jordan was never meant to be that player. I was never meant to be that player.
Yeah.
And so right now, like the roles just click really well. I don't think it was necessarily Sempus's fault or anything like that. He always had ideas. I always listened to them. And it's the same way that like Freakazoid or Jordan has ideas still. And I mean, they can influence any given round too if they have like a good idea. I veto a lot of ideas, which a lot of people probably heard on the comms.
Yeah.
But I do accept some of them, and they know that.
Awesome. So what is a team like, or what is an event like this and like your previous event where you get these results that are close, but people only remember the wins or losses, right?
Yeah.
What does that do to your confidence? Is it a road away at it? Do you take it? Do you shed some perspective on it and say, it was this close, it was a very good team, any other day we could have won? Like, does it affect you mentally?
This event definitely kind of like made me a little bit sad because I felt like I could have put in so much more work had I not gotten sick and had I not had like the tooth problems that I ran into. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I literally like chipped a tooth, and my tooth has been like killing me every day, like a pain level of like 9 to 10.
Oh.
So I couldn't really watch demos like every night. Like I couldn't really put in the time that I typically put in when I'm at these events, and maybe we were a little bit like underprepared as far as like the finals go. That's the one thing that like I really regret, I guess, is like there's just so many unfortunate events that happen throughout this trip, and that sucks.
Yeah. Well, I hope it doesn't affect you in the future, man. I want to thank you for the interview.
Yeah.
And everyone's really proud of you.
Cool. Thanks, dude. Yeah. I don't want to shake your hand. I don't want you to
say.
Yeah.
He hates me.
No. trying to look out for you.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Thanks, man.